Welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. In today's video, we are going to add the next 20 creature cards with mana values of 2 into our Momir Vig Cube. Thank you for choosing MTG Burgeoning for your Magic the Gathering content. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and consider becoming a subscriber. Doing so supports the channel and makes you eligible for our various subscriber rewards series. If you would like to support the channel further, then click the link to our Patreon page in the description below. There you can join our ongoing Pack Wars series as a 1-month supporter or ongoing member. Or try joining Pack Wars for free by commenting on every MTG Burgeoning video in a month. We strive to offer creative rewards through our various Patreon tiers. So if Pack Wars isn't for you, then something else will be. Links to our content and various subscriber rewards series can be found in the description below. Send us an email, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We are your channel for all things magic. Hello and what's up, MTGBC? That is the MTG Burgeoning community. Welcome back to another installment of our ongoing Momir Vig Cube series. If you are unfamiliar or just forgot what the goals and purpose of this series are, you can search in the description below for the link to MTG Burgeoning's introduction to the Momir Vig Cube. And while you're skulking down there in the description below, you can also click the link to Cube Cobra, where you can see the entire contents of the Momir Vig Cube as it stands right now. So for today, 20 creature cards, CMC of 2, and we're beginning with a Throne of Eldraine classic, Piper of the Swarm, a 1/3 human warlock that gives rats we control menace. We can pay 1 and a black mana, we can tap the Piper, and we can create a 1/1 black rat creature token. We can also pay 2 generic mana and double black and tap the Piper, sacrifice 3 rats, and then we can gain control of target creature. The Piper of the Swarm should never enter into combat. You want to just sit back and make those lovely rat tokens and then just keep doing so until you can sack and take the best creature on the battlefield. Creature number 2 is a multicolored edition. It is Orzhov. It is Pitiless Pontiff, a 2/2 vampire cleric. Pay 1 generic mana and sacrifice another creature, and Pitiless Pontiff, very easy for me to say, gains Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. With enough creatures on our side of the battlefield, perhaps made by Piper of the Swarm, we could really cause some combat headaches for our opponents, whether or not they are ever thinking about attacking into it or blocking it. Creature number 3 is our first colorless edition. It is Plague Mirror, a 1/1 mirror that has Infect, which means it will deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters, and damage to players in the form of poison counters. 10 poison counters on 1 player means that player is out of the game. We can also turn Plague Mirror sideways to add 1 generic mana to your mana pool. Pretty versatile for Plague Mirror. Creature number 4, Mono White Edition, we have Precinct Captain, a 2/2 human soldier with first strike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Any creatures that can create creatures should be highly coveted in the Momir Vig Cube format, because this is all creatures all the times. You won't find any planeswalkers, sorceries, instants, enchantments, none of those single card types are in the Momir Vig Cube. It's all creatures all the time, so let's make as many as we can. Reaching the 1/4 point of this video, we go mono red with Pyre Charger, a 1/1 elemental warrior with haste. It also has fire breathing, but that fire breathing is only going to be good if you have those mountains in your basic land library. Creature number 6 and our first mono green edition, we have the Kyrian Dryad, a 1/1 Dryad that whenever we cast a white, blue, black, or red spell, we will put a +1/+1 counter on this Dryad. And with the number of black, white, blue, and red spells that are all in the Momir Vig Cube, we should be able to grow the Dryad's power and toughness via that +1/+1 engine count, that +1/+1 counter engine very, very quickly. All right, next creature on deck. It is another multicolor edition. We have the Rakdos Guildmage, a 2/2 zombie shaman. We can pay 3 and a black mana and discard a card, and target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. We can pay 3 and a red mana to create a 2/1 red goblin creature token with haste that gets exiled at the beginning of the next end step. So with enough mana available, you could use this as some spot removal for some smaller toughness creatures, or we can temporarily put some creatures onto our side of the battlefield. Either way, make sure you have those swamps and mountains in your basic land library if you're hoping to activate the Guildmage's abilities. Back-to-back multicolored creatures will reign supreme here. Next up, we have Rakshasa Death Dealer, a 2/2 cat demon. For Golgari colors, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And notice it does not say you can only activate this once per turn. As much black and green mana that you can flood into this cat demon, you're going to boost its power and toughness +2/+2 each time you can activate it. And for that same amount of Golgari mana, you can also regenerate Rakshasa Death Dealer. That may be one of the most difficult creatures to get rid of in all of the Momir Vig Cube. Next up, mono red, we have the Raptor Hatchling, a 1/1 dinosaur with the Enrage mechanic. Whenever this is dealt damage, we will create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. It seems unlikely that this dinosaur will be able to survive combat if it does take that 1 or more points of damage, but it does leave behind a nice 3/3 dino with trample, and like we said earlier, any creatures that can create creatures in the Momir Vig Cube are very, very valuable. All right, next creature up, and it is our first mono blue edition. We have the Riptide Mangler, a 0/3 beast. We can pay 1 and a blue mana, and we can change its power to target creature's power. So we can be pretty shifty with this, depending on what creatures are on the battlefield. Starts off as a 3, but for 1 and a blue, it could be a heck of a lot bigger. Only if you have that blue mana in your mana pool. I'm sorry, only if you have those islands in your basic land library. All right, the first tenor down and in the books. Here's creature number 11. We're back to mono green. It is the classic River Boa, back to the days of Zendikar. It's a 2/1 island walker, which means if one of our opponents control any islands, this bad boy is going to deal combat damage, and it can't be blocked. And we can also pay 1 green mana to regenerate him. Just make sure you've got those forests in that basic land library, MTG BC. Back to mono blue. This time it is River Merfolk, a 2/1 Merfolk that we can pay 1 blue mana to give it Mountain Walk until end of turn. Yeah, we are definitely hating on some red players with this Merfolk. And of course, Mountain Walk is just like Island Walk, except the opponent needs a mountain instead of an island for the River Merfolk to be unblockable. Creature number 13, mono green, it is Rot Shambler, a 1/1 fungus that whenever another creature we control dies, we'll put a +1/+1 counter on Rot Shambler. Depending on what kind of engine you have based on activated or triggered abilities, Rot Shambler could be a lot more valuable than it seems. Creature 14, we have mono red, the Runaway Steamkin, a 1/1 elemental. Whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, we'll put a +1/+1 counter on this bad boy. Then we can remove 3 of those +1/+1 counters, and we can add 3 red mana to our mana pool. Now, it seems unlikely, not impossible, but it seems unlikely that we'll be able to trigger Runaway Steamkin every single time we summon a token copy from the Momir Vig Cube. However, if the stars do align and you do roll those boxcars, maybe you will be able to string together 3 consecutive red spells, pull off those 3 +1/+1 counters, add that 3 red mana, and cast a creature from the cube. Summon a copy of the creature from the cube way ahead of curve. All right, we're reaching the 3/4 mark of this video. Mono green returns, and this time it is Saddled Rhymestag, a 2/2 elk that gets +2/+2 as long as you had another creature enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So don't make the mistake of missing those potential ETB triggers. because if you do summon a creature from the Momir Vig Cube that comes into play and has an ETB trigger of its own that might create additional creatures, you could be looking at a 6/6, 8/8, maybe even a 10/10 Saddled Rhyme Stag. And if you don't pay attention, you'll miss an opportunity to turn that bad boy sideways and send it into combat. All right, beginning the last quarter of this video, we return to Mono White, and we have Seasoned Hollowblade, a 3/1 human warrior. We get to discard a card, and we can tap this guy and give him Indestructible. If we have the cards in our hand to do that, that could cause a great deal of headaches for our opponents when they think about coming at us during combat. Back-to-back mono-white creatures here, still dealing with some Indestructible. We have Selfless Spirit, an Eldritch Moon classic. It's a 2/1 Spirit Cleric with flying, and we can sacrifice this to give all of our creatures Indestructible until end of turn. The evasion is fantastic because we can keep swinging with this and bringing our opponent's life totals closer and closer to 0. And if we need to, if there's some kind of ETB or LTB ability that's going to destroy a bunch of our creatures or wipe out the board, we can simply sacrifice the spirit and preserve our army. Mono White seems to reign supreme here with its 3rd consecutive edition. We have Sensai Golden Tail, a 2/1 Fox Samurai with the Bushido mechanic. Now that means whenever this blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. We can pay 1 and a white mana, and we can tap the Golden Tail and put a training counter on target creature. That creature gains Bushido 1 and becomes a samurai in addition to its other creature types. We can only do that ability anytime we could do a sorcery. So for the purposes of having this Fox Samurai on our side of the battlefield, it may be more valuable to just lay back and create a bunch of samurai with Bushido 1 as opposed to sending it into combat. All right, creature number 19 as we start to wrap up this video. Back to mono green, and we have Servant of the Conduit, a 2/2 elf druid that when it ETBs, we get 2 energy counters. There is an energy theme woven into this Momir Vig Cube. We can turn the Servant sideways, pay 1 energy, and we can add 1 mana of any color to our mana pool. This will help us to ramp ahead of our opponents and summon a copy of a creature from the cube ahead of curve. And lastly, creature number 20, ending with mono green, we have Sheltering Ancient, a 5/5 trampler for the investment of 2 mana. You are not hearing that incorrectly, MTGBC. It's a 5/5 trampler for the investment of 2 mana. So the drawback must be terrible. But is it? This has a cumulative upkeep of putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature an opponent controls. However, in Momir Vig, each player begins with just 24 life. And if we have a 5/5 trampler on our second turn, those opponents' life totals are going to go south very quickly, particularly because we're only doling out a +1/+1 counter on the next turn, and then 2, and then 3, and before you know it, the game could pretty much get out of hand. All right, MTGBC, that is it. 20 more creature cards for the Momir Vig Cube, this time with CMCs of 2. Let me know which are your favorites in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.